What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fantasy Rant presented by Stadium Rant. Make sure you follow, like, share Stadium Rant for all sorts of content, not just NFL, but all sports. They got WWE going on. It's where it's at. Guys, so it's a little different this week. We're missing Dan. He's out sick, so get better quickly, Dan. Do a quick introduction so you guys know us. We got Mason Beck on again. We got the boss, Tyler Lamb, coming in. Me, Lee Cook, and I've got a special guest here with me. This is my son, Jackson.
Hello, guys.
So we appreciate y'all joining us. As we had talked about last week, we're doing no more mocks. We're doing a real draft. This one has skin in the game. We're going to be managing these teams all year long. We're going to be trying to win each other's money, and we're going to let you guys get a peek behind the curtain and see how we draft real teams. So I say, unless you guys got something you want to add, I say we jump right into it.
Hop in there, man. I'm ready to draft.
Let's do it. All right. Well.
All right. We got Kyle Brady taking CeeDee Lamb quickly with the first pick. He had that one premeditated. There goes Christian McCaffrey at 2. No real decisions yet there. We got Jackson coming up at 4. With his, and I mentioned it last week, but those just join us. This is Jackson's first fantasy team of his life. So
very excited. Very excited to share this with you.
Of course, Manny slowed us down. What are you doing? Yep. If you're watching, Manny, what are you doing out there?
He's going to go off the reservation. We got a 1-minute timer. I love that.
Yeah. Manny's going to do something wild. He is a wild card. I mean, Tyreek Hill is the chalk pick, but I don't think Manny's going Tyreek Hill here, guys.
I think that's silly if you're not going Tyreek Hill here. Like, if he's not injured, if he's on the football field, he's scoring fantasy points. Like,
agreed. I mean, he could just win you any week. That's the biggest thing.
Ooh.
Oh, I called it. He whipped Bijan.
You're right.
Jackson with his first ever fantasy pick. He listened to you, Tyler. He took Tyreek Hill at 4.
I mean, for your first ever fantasy pick, that's pretty solid. Tyreek at 4.
I don't hate Bijan in a half-point PPR over Tyreek, but a full point, I think I got to go Tyreek. It could work out for me.
I mean, if Bijan gets like a Todd Gurley-esque type of run for like this year, like, it's not a bad pick by any of these picks aren't bad. Like unless injury strikes, all of these picks are good.
Yeah.
Generally.
Yeah, I mean, I had a guy last year draft DeAndre Swift in the first round, and that was a little off the reservation. But.
That's not a good pick. Like that's not a good pick. You can't do that.
It was the trust me guy. He's like, trust me, guys. I know.
Oh.
He didn't know. And kind of what I had figured was going to happen, those top 8, I really like being at 7 or 8. At 9, it's a little more of a decision for me, but I feel like A.J. Brown is the pick here. I just trust him more than Garrett Wilson. I trust the situation, the quarterback. A.J. Brown is
he was on a near historic pace through the first like 8 or 9 weeks of last season. If he comes back and puts a full season of that together, stop it.
I mean, I love Garrett Wilson, but I'm scared of him that high.
You have to be.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was going to take A.J. Brown there. Garrett Wilson has a lot of potential for sure, but just taking him as your first overall pick, there's too much risk there.
Feels yucky.
Yeah, it just feels like that could lose you your entire league. So I'm going to go Barkley instead of him. I think does have potential to finish as running back 1 overall, just behind that Eagles offense. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat McCaffrey if McCaffrey stays healthy, but I mean, I would not be surprised at all if Saquon finishes as the second best running back this season.
I agree. I like Saquon in that spot. Can we slide the board over a little bit, or are we full screen? Because we're missing that last pick.
True. Yeah.
The thing with Saquon is like he could very well have like a Christian McCaffrey effect on the Eagles, like going from that bad of a scheme and a team to this good of a roster that like has issues all over the field for defenses. And one of the best offensive lines in the league. Yeah, his passing volume may go down. His touchdowns are probably not going the best in his career, but he should be getting the ball often and making chunk plays all over the place. Derrick Henry at the 201.
Derrick Henry, early Derrick
That is
Henry.
early. I like it,
Especially
though. I mean,
full point PPR. And we should have said that, guys. So we're playing this is a pretty standard league. One quarterback. We are doing 6-point passing touchdowns, and it is a full point PPR league. Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh.
Good guy. Jay, what are you doing? Taking a quarterback with a 14th pick.
That's a little too early.
Rookie mistake.
Well, I'm going to do something I normally don't do. Draft 2 running backs early. I'm going to take Gibbs and second.
I was hoping you would do
that's gross.
For me.
Yeah, just have like a pretty nasty 2 starting running backs there. 2 guys that have the potential to have week-winning games by themselves. So that's pretty.
I really wish you'd have went wide receiver there. Gibbs would have been a smash. Now I'm in a little bit of a conundrum.
The only thing with Gibbs and Barkley is that both their bye weeks are week 5, so I didn't really notice that. So week 5 will be a struggle.
Dude, you got to be sharper than that, bro. You're supposed to be an expert.
Hey, I'll take one loss from those guys not producing to, have a take on them like that.
Jackson told me to take Puka. I was between Puka and Marvin Harrison Jr. there, honestly. I'm sure most of you guys saw the news. Kyron Williams is going to be returning punts.
Why would you take Marvin?
That's a little scary. It's a little scary for Kyron. Beyond the Blake Corum being drafted so high, it's a little scary, for your starting running back who had such a workload and what really made his season last year. You're telling me he's returning punts. It's scary.
I feel like I didn't hear McVay say this. I saw it was reported. What I will say about it is, I don't think he's going to be their main punt returner. I feel like he's going to be in the mix and they'll rotate guys, which, I think that if McVay's not an idiot, you know what I mean? He's one of the smartest coaches in the league. I feel like he kind of knows his players. And if Kyron falls to me here, I'm going to take Kyron here because I don't really love what I'm seeing beyond that. And, in my other draft, I have the 1 pick, and a lot of these players are falling to me at the 2-3 turn. So, I don't know. I'm going to go with Kyron here.
Yeah, I don't mind it at this point by any means. So just to recap real quick, Marvin Harrison went after I took Puka. Isaiah Pacheco a little bit early there. But, hey, I don't think that's anything out of line. We had Travis Etienne, and then Lamb took –
I took Kyron Williams to pair with Breece Hall. So my running back room, like Mason's, is going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that just touch on Kyron a little bit, though. The punt return does scare me. The talent's still there, but, kick return, punt return, high injury plays. Yeah. And it just – all it takes is one hit and from a bad punt return and Kyron's down. And that just – anybody who's a punt returner instantly drops or a kick returner. Maybe not as much kick returner now, but anyone who's a punt returner – it always just scares me because
I will say that he did return kicks or return punts for the first 5 weeks of the season last year, and he still had a really high workload, but he got hurt, and so they drafted a running back early. It seems like a pretty big warning sign that maybe at the very least he's going to have a reduced workload.
In his 12 healthy games, he was running back 1 in 9 of those 12 weeks with finishes at RB9, RB2, RB4, RB3, RB1, RB9, RB5, RB12, RB1. If he's healthy, he is their guy, and he's going to make plays. Their offense was better when he was on the field for them. And I think they lost when he got hurt. They lost 4 games, and when he came back, they had one of the better offenses in the league. And I think he's McVay's systems typically have a guy like that. They typically pick a guy and use him. I do think Corum's going to help ease his workload a little bit, But I mean, Kyron was pretty efficient on the touches that he had. Especially, I mean, touchdowns aren't a sticky stat, but like
I mean,
in
to
that
me, that's the
offense,
biggest thing. As long as
it's narrow.
Quorum doesn't take the goal line work, I think Kyron will be fine. And just a quick recap, guys. So after Lamb went, Kyron, Jackson with his second ever fantasy pick took Drake London to stack with Tyreek Hill. Pretty good start there. Chris Olave went off the board to Manny. Devontae Adams, I'm predicting he's off the cliff this year, but we shall see, to Wolfpacker. And then on the turn, Kyle took Sam Laporta and Josh Jacobs. Whew. I like Josh Jacobs with the news we got with A.J. Dillon going on IR.
Yeah, Laporta in the second in a non-tight end premium league is a bit rich for me.
I agree.
Damn you, Wolfpacker. Damn you. Like, damn it.
He redeemed himself from the Devontae Adams pick with taking Devon. So we had Josh Jacobs as the first pick in the third round. Devon Achane just went at 302.
Yeah, that one hurt my soul. I really wanted him to fall. Let's see what Manny does here. Manny takes Nico Collins. Gross. I love it. And I really wanted him to fall to me as well, but he didn't.
I'm still not huge on Nico for where he's getting drafted at. I think Tank Dell is going to take so much more than we think. And I think there's just too much else to feed for that price.
I have Tank Dell as my wide receiver 14 this year overall. I'm probably the highest on him out of most people you know. And you can get him at the cheapest price. I am going to go Mike Evans here. I mean, he's just too consistent. His game isn't based on elite speed. He is just a excellent big body wide receiver, and he's going to have another 1,000 yards and probably 10 touchdowns. So I can
Jackson said, but he is old.
He is old. It is a redraft league, though. It's okay. After the year's over, he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, he's had 1,000 yards every season. Everybody knows that stat. Cooper Kupp went after Mike Evans, then James Cook, and we've got Dan somewhere not feeling well back on the clock.
Cooper Kupp, he's old too.
He is. Cooper Kupp's old.
Luke's probably better.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
Probably more passes. I would think a quarterback.
I argue though that Cooper Kupp's 31 is older than Mike Evans is 31.
Bless you.
They said bless you, by the way. She said thank you.
Jackson thinks that taking a quarterback in the second round was a horrible decision. He's saying that over here right now.
Quarterback's a terrible option right now.
It's nice to have one of the flashy names at quarterback, but the way you win your leagues is by getting the quarterback late and having him grow into the flashy name. Like people who picked up Patrick Mahomes off the waiver wire in his rookie year or the first year that he started and threw 50 touchdowns, like that's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to take the 50 touchdowns is awesome either way. But like if you're taking it in the second round, you're killing your own value there.
Really good.
Badger you.
Yeah. The pressure, man, once that clock starts ticking down and you know, it's tough because I didn't want to go Josh Allen after just criticizing the man at Patrick Mahomes, but the board gets a little hairy at this point. You got 3 teams with 3 wide receivers: me, Jackson, and Dan.
Is Mason going to be the first team with 3 running backs?
I mean, I'm kind of debating it, but Josh Allen in the late third seems kind of nice. And like Lee was saying, there's a lot of teams that already have 3 wide receivers, so don't expect that to necessarily continue. I think there's going to be a lot more talent left there, so I'm going to take Allen.
Wow.
Okay. Where's good guy Jay doing? Is he getting the Kelsey stack here? Which I kind of like it a little bit. If he gets the Kelsey stack at 311, I don't know. That's kind of a dangerous comp. I called it, unless he's watching, but I called it.
I just hate taking 2 onesie positions in your first 3 picks. I feel like that really hamstrings your roster.
You have to be like super accurate from your 4th round pick to your like 8th round pick. and then it'll work out. But like if you make like one wrong misstep, you're like hurting at a position pretty bad.
Absolutely. And Jalen Waddle finishes up our third round. I considered him with my pick, but the injury concern, he's had injury concerns his whole career. That's what really held me back from taking Jalen Waddle.
All right, I'm gonna predict this one. He's gonna take like DJ Moore. Watch. If he's watching and he does that to screw with me, that's excellent. But I hope he's not, so I can just like predict the pick the right way. But I think he's gonna take DJ Moore.
Yeah, I could see that. He needs a receiver for sure. I'd be surprised if he didn't go receiver. And maybe Diggs. Maybe he goes Diggs.
That was my other thought, but like, I don't know. Oh, he's watching. He's watching. He went Diggs.
Jackson was right. Jackson called Diggs.
I'm always right.
So honestly, with my team, I like having the crazy upside from my first three picks. Barkley, Gibbs, Josh Allen. I'll have all could have just massive explosive weeks. So I'm gonna go someone a little more safe, who I think is gonna put up consistent points. Not always the best, but I'm gonna go Pittman.
Yeah, I was mad. I didn't want to say it out loud, but I know how you love Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I think Michael Pittman's going to have a pretty good year. I mean, with how many receivers have already gone, I think getting him in the fourth is pretty solid. He's going to just have consistent points.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Pittman is a safe pick. We'll see if Anthony Richardson can really unlock that potential. He could go higher.
How much better of a passer is Gardner Minshew than Anthony Richardson?
Quite a bit right now.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't see there being
Jalen Hurts
being a massive discrepancy.
Line 1, 2, 3. It's a line. Quarterbacks.
I mean, it's just he's more polished. We'll see. Obviously, I think AR has more potential, but he's just We don't know. We just don't know. He didn't throw the ball a ton in college. He only had the 1 year. Only played a few games last year.
If he gets hurt though, if he does get hurt, then it's Joe Flacco. How do you feel about Michael Pittman?
I mean, I still like him. I think that it's going to just be what I drafted him for. At that point, it's going to be consistency. It's not going to be the big flashy games, but definitely with Richardson, there is that potential for the big flashy games from Pittman. But I think it's more just going to be solid production. You're very rarely going to be upset with his week. You're not really going to be wowed away by his weeks. So it's just he's one of the safest picks in the league, in my opinion.
The good thing is you don't have a ton of competition for targets with Pittman. So after Mason took Pittman, I did kind of went a little early for a quarterback for me, but I wanted to complete the stack with A.J. Brown, so I went Jalen Hurts. Dan went Rachaad White. We had Brandon taking Malik Neighbors, who could be a lot of sneaky upside, a really high range of potential outcomes for Malik Neighbors. Trey McBride goes next to Louis, taking his first 1D position, and then we got Tyler back on the clock.
Yeah, those last two picks really burnt my buns, man. I'm not really thrilled about what just happened. I think Malik Neighbors is an excellent pick. I think that he has 150 plus target upside this year. Trey McBride is my tight end 1 on the year. And so I am going to take a player that I did mention earlier because DJ Moore is still on the board. And I feel like I get DJ Moore in the 4th round every year, and every single year it's a value. So I'm just going to do it again.
The only thing is the competition for targets. Hopefully he'll have the chemistry with Caleb, but he was unlocked last year. We all saw the potential of what he could be in Carolina. He never had that quarterback play. You have to think.
Even if
their future on it, that Caleb Williams is going to be better than Justin Fields. So
even if he's not wide receiver 6 overall, in Carolina on an awful team with no quarterback, wide receiver in full PPR 16, 23, 18, 24. At the very least, he's a wide receiver 2, a low-end wide receiver 2. And at his height, he's a middle of the tier wide receiver 1. So,
taking DJ Moore, mid to late 4th, it's pretty solid.
You can't really go. you can't really go wrong with that at all, in my opinion.
Like, I mean, he's going to finish as a wide receiver too, guaranteed. Within the top 24. I don't see a world where he doesn't unless he gets injured, of course. But
yeah.
And
I think Kyle's reached a little bit on his last 3 picks. I think.
So,
and then he goes and takes Dell because, like, I just tried to be a little critical of him, and now he takes my dude that I really wanted to fall back to. So awesome.
Real quick, just to recap. So after DJ Moore, Jackson went Joe Mixon. Why did you go Joe Mixon, Jack? And what? He's on a great team. That's what he said. He's on a great offense. That's why he wanted to take Joe Mixon. Yeah. They got all the weapons. He should have a lot of touchdown opportunity, right, Jack? C.J. Stroud went after that. Lamar Jackson, so we had a little mini run on the top-end quarterbacks. Kenneth Walker and Tank Dell. And then we've got Zay Flowers and Manny back on. And just to comment on the Kyle thing, I don't know, man. I like Kenneth Walker more than I think a lot of people do. And I think Josh Jacobs' stock is definitely on the rise just because there's no – Marshawn Lloyd is a fumbler. A.J. Dillon's on the IR. He's going to get that workhorse load again and on a much better offense.
I just think that they're a little early, but he's on the turn, so it's not like those players aren't falling back to him for the most part. So I do get it. Rashee Rice, man. All right.
Wow. That feels a little early. I don't hate it, but his stock is definitely on the rise with them. It's likely he's not getting suspended this season. He's been climbing up draft boards. That's about the earliest I've seen him go, though, at what's that, 503?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean his suspension will probably be coming next year instead. It's way too late into season's about to start. I doubt that they really find a ruling after this case at week 8 or something like that. It's a lot of times we do see when these players are getting in trouble, it is postponed a year or so.
And I think that's a good thing. I think the NFL should wait for the legal process to play out. To me, I think it got a little crazy in there where they were making decisions and doing things before the courts had any say. So we had Rashee Rice go at 503. Jack took Mark Andrews, kind of another tight end there. Could be tight end 1 if he's healthy all year. Not a bad pick. And then we got George Pickens. George Pickens to Lamb. That's risky.
He's my wide receiver 3, and if he does what I think he's gonna do, what I've projected him to do, then he very well could be the best receiver on my team production wise. I actually have him as wide receiver 12 overall. I have him with close to 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns this year. We know Russell Wilson likes to throw the deep ball. Cortland Sutton is like a less explosive, older version of George Pickens. And Deontay Johnson left, man. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of targets in this offense for him to eat up. And the only thing that could really make me feel bad about that pick is Arthur Smith. And I'm at this point in the 5th round, I'm closing my eyes and I'm just going to try and let let somebody else take the wheel.
How do you feel if Brandon Ayuk is traded to the Steelers tomorrow?
That's not.
I mean, not great, obviously.
It's
not
over.
good.
All right, so we had Alvin Kamara go after Pickens, Dalton Kincaid got a little mini run on tight ends, Amari Cooper, and now I'm back on the clock with no running backs on my roster. Do I take a running back here finally?
Aaron Joe's not the right pick. He's old.
Let me look at these roster breakdowns. I do not take a running back.
What? Bro, your run backs suck.
Kittle. All right.
So Kittle, tight ends are going quick. I feel like there's not a lot of elite options left. I've gotten a lot of Kittle this year. I feel like he's a little undervalued.
So I'm going to go right here and take T. Higgins just for the upside off of he did drop off a lot. There's been a lot of dispute. I mean, that after him, he got franchise tag, but he's going to be using the season as really playing for a big contract extension, whether it's with Cincinnati or somewhere else. Jamar Chase also, not really practicing. I think that gives Higgins a lot more opportunities to really find a solid role on this offense. We're coming down to the final week. This is the most important week, and if you don't have your star player there, they're going to find ways to use these other guys a lot more.
My man just drafted his second tight end in the 5th round. Jay, what are you doing out there?
It's not a tight end premium. It's not a tight end premium. Good
Tyler
Lord.
Murray went to finish up the 5th
That's scary,
round.
Terry.
Oh, Terry McLaurin. We're upset with that.
Who took him? I will find your house.
He's coming for your house.
Whoa.
Jackson. He's coming for your house.
We're just jumping straight to going to the home. Love that energy. I love that energy. No prior message. Just like
That's right.
we're doing this. It's on site.
I'm pretty sure he's in Boston, Jack. It's quite a drive for us.
Do not care.
Doesn't care. Does not care.
I walk him.
He'll walk on bare feet there, he says.
What are you gonna do, Mason? You only have 20 seconds left. Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up, dude.
Yeah, you can't mess it up, man.
Take Anthony Richardson. Take Anthony Richardson.
What
Do
are you
it.
gonna do?
Do it.
Press the button.
I'm gonna go James Conner.
Do it.
Keep going. So you're done for.
Oh, that was my pick. That was definitely who I was taking.
You don't
Here.
take him. He's trash. Sorry.
He's not trash. He's
He's
just
28.
he does get hurt a lot. He is older. Sit down, son. Sit down.
No.
Calm down.
When you're 28, you're gonna really hope people don't call you old at 28. Let me tell you that.
Oh, I'm in a pickle here.
There's the people.
Tilt.
Yeah.
Lisa, tilt.
I think taking Connor there just locks up my running back room with 3 guys. Connor, when he's healthy, has just proven great. He always puts in fantasy numbers. He's always underrated. And all it takes is 1 year of him actually not being injured and playing, and he could have a historic season. Not historic, but very surprising season that puts him into a top 4 player again.
Rick.
Dude, you gotta draft somebody. Oh,
I don't like it.
That was
I don't
definitely a tilt pick for you. I feel like I know that. I don't know why I know that, but I do.
I hate Aaron Jones. I gave him a ride on Uber. He didn't
That's
tip me.
why I know that. I knew it. I knew that. I couldn't put it together, but there it is.
Aaron Jones, you should tip your Uber drivers. So we've got a running back runner here. We had DeAndre Swift, James Conner, and then I went Aaron Jones begrudgingly. I do feel like Minnesota is going to have to run the ball more. He does have a chip on his shoulder. Green Bay cutting him. I need one more good year out of Aaron Jones, and really, I need 10 games out of him. But hopefully, he can be productive.
Damn it, Dan! Like, really, dude? Really?
Kind of the last of our elite
Yeah,
tight
really,
ends. Evan Ingram goes, so that really thins out the tight ends. We're at pick 606, and our top 8 tight ends are off the board.
This looks like a tight end premium draft.
Jordan
Like it
Love.
does.
Jordan Love. It feels a little early for Jordan Love.
Yeah, he's in a
Over
tier
Anthony
of players that I feel like you can get in 3 rounds.
Over Anthony
You know what I
Richardson
mean? Like there's that whole
and Doug
tier of those
Burrow.
players.
Yeah, in
That's
redraft,
crazy.
if redraft you're spending a pick this early on a quarterback, I'd rather take the upside of Richardson.
All right, I'm gonna do this, and I really think Jake Ferguson's gonna be the second targeted player on this Dallas Cowboys team. Dak Prescott typically likes to throw to his tight ends. He did when it was Dalton Schultz, and now he does when it's Jake Ferguson. I just think that he offers touchdown value and decent volume share. I just don't think Brandon Cooks or Jalen Tolbert, Rico Dallum, I don't think any of those guys are going to handle a really big passing volume. So it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be Jake Ferguson. And I feel like those are your top 2 target earners on Dallas.
Yeah.
You're forgetting about new addition Dalvin Cook, who's going to make a
He's
comeback.
going to do nothing. He's got nothing left in the tank. He's done. Him and Ezekiel Elliott both done.
Zeke still has stuff in the tank. He was the best player on the Pats last year, which isn't saying much, but he at least he looked okay. He really did. I'm not
He's
lying.
3.5 a carry.
he's still scoring touchdowns and catching. I'm pretty sure he had close to 50 receptions last year as well.
If we're talking fantasy, he looked all right. If we're talking from a real NFL,
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't look excellent, but I think that he still has like a little bit left in him. I do.
So after Jordan Love, just to recap real quick, we did have Joe Burrow go, which is a much better pick. Good job, Louie. We had Lamb take Jake Ferguson. He got pushed up the board with the way tight ends were going, but I don't think that's a huge reach. David Montgomery to Jackson to get his second running back. And then we have what I like this guy more than most, but this was a reach, Manny, with Dallas Goedert in the seventh round. Seventh round? Is that right? Sixth round for Dallas Goedert.
Roma Dunze is very early, I feel like, here. I like Dallas Goedert. It just I remember watching the show when you gave the analogy that you gave on Goddard. Like that's like the perfect, like wasn't the prom date that you really wanted, but it was the prom date that went with you anyway.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right, I guess. Like sure.
He's probably not gonna lose you a ton of weeks, but I feel like again, the tight ends got pushed up in the draft, but I just feel like you could have gotten him or a comparable tight end 3 rounds later.
I mean, dude, I'm taking David Njoku over him every day of the week. I am. I think Njoku is just a way better athlete, personally.
And we had Roma Dunze, Najee Harris to finish out the 6th round. I like Najee in that spot. Dak Prescott in the start the 7th. Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Jackson back on the clock.
I hope you don't snipe me right now, Jackson. I really do. Really don't want you to do that, by the way.
I want to go back on that Goddard pick. Oh, well, he went with Mostert. I mean, upside pick, but...
You want to talk about upside pick? We're going to do this. That's an upside pick.
It definitely is, but it could also be a pick that's... I mean, it's just a risky situation where you're taking him at. I do like him long-term, but once Marquise Brown comes back...
He's going to do what? Be Marquise Brown and drop footballs?
Yes, probably, but it's going to take some targets away. I mean, Kelsey.
I mean, how many targets does he really if he's scoring 75-yard touchdowns?
I mean, that is right, but are you going to
be on the best offense in the league with the best quarterback in the league and the best play caller in the league, and he has elite traits?
But are you completely banking off of him getting these big play touchdowns?
I'm not really banking on it though, because he's my wide receiver 4. Or my second flex, you know what I'm saying? Like, and Mike Evans consistent, DJ Moore consistent, and if Pickens and Worthy have good weeks, good luck.
He's getting injured a lot.
I mean, if they have bad weeks, I mean, hopefully the consistency of my other players will hold up. That's kind of what I'm looking for with the first 4 picks there. I feel like are pretty consistent players.
So we had Tyler reach for Xavier Worthy, but there's some potential there. I think full point PPR, you're going to have some weeks. If he's in the lineup, he's going to give you nothing. But you're right. He's going to have some 75-yard touchdown catches.
It was either Worthy or Godwin there, and I felt like this route. I actually have Mike Evans, so I don't need Chris Godwin. So
yeah, I get that. So then Godwin went right after Tyler. We had Javonte Williams. We had Dan take Zamir White. He's got the White brothers starting at running back. I went. I forgoed my second running back again. Forgone. I don't know if "forego's" a word. We took Christian Kirk. I love him in full point PPR. There's a lot of other question marks outside of Evan Ingram. Christian Kirk gets to go back to the slot where he's the most effective. Really like my 4 wide receivers to start this draft. And now we're back to Mason.
Yeah, and I'm going to take Jaden Reed. Not the safest pick necessarily because there's so much questions around who's really going to emerge from the Packers wide receiver room. Reed's looking like he's in, for the wide receiver 1 role. And even if he's not, I don't see him falling below the wide receiver 2. Jordan Love looked good towards the end of the year. If he can keep that pace going into this season, I think it's going to be more than enough to support a wide receiver 2. I think Reed's also going to get a good amount of touchdowns, which,
If Reed keeps his efficiency up from last year and his touchdown efficiency and target efficiency, that's a smash play there. If he stays healthy, he's an elite talent. He's a separator, and he has a nose for the red zone. He running the football and receiving the football. I am a little biased on this player though, because he did win me $1,500 last year. So like I was down like 20 in that game. They scored 2 touchdowns and left before half, but that was all I needed, my friend. That was all I needed.
Them guys definitely they get a special place in your heart once that occurs. So just to finish out our 7th round there.
Why is he taking a second quarterback, dude? What are you doing, good guy?
He's gotten 4 onesie positions in the first. Is that 8 picks? Yeah, the first 8 picks, he's gotten 4 onesie positions.
This is not a super flex tight end premium league, my friend.
Just real quick, just to recap, the end of the 7th round, after I went Kurt, Mason went Jaden Reed. We had good guy Jay take Keenan Allen, which might have been his best pick of the draft so far. Keenan fell, but in a full point PPR, we'll see. But Keenan has some value, as much as I've been down on him if you've been following the show. Calvin Ridley could be a sneaky pick to end the 7th. Then we started at 8th with David Njoku, really the last tight end that you can kind of bank on. I think we've got 2 teams without a tight end. And good guy Jay, we just talked about it. He went Anthony Richardson. He's got Pat Mahomes, Anthony Richardson, Travis Kelce, and Kyle Pitts, 4 of his first 8 players. He better be looking to make a trade.
Yeah, and then I went ahead with Deontay Johnson. Whether or not Carolina's offense really does take a big leap forward, he's going to be the wide receiver 1 there this year. I think, he's been consistent over his years. When he was with the Steelers, it was pretty consistent production. I think having him and Pittman as my 2 guys that I think are going to be, solid, very consistent, and then having Reed and Higgins who have potential to have absolutely explosive years is a good combo between there to have my first 4 wide receivers.
I love the Deontay Johnson pick. I mean, we saw what Adam Thielen did, and then in that offense, obviously Deontay Johnson has a lot more juice. Even in weeks where they were doing nothing, Adam Thielen was still producing. So I do love that pick. Mason, we've talked about it. He's definitely one of my late round guys I like. I went Zach Moss after that. Again, if you guys are following the show, I love Zach Moss. He is going to get a ton of goal line work. Chase Brown cannot pass block, and it is going to keep him off the field. He will not be the RB1. Zach Moss didn't play in the preseason for a reason. It's because they know he's the starting.
He sucks. Not good at football. He's played 5 good games in his 5-year career.
When were they though? When he was the bell cow, when they gave him the option to be the bell cow in a good offense.
He got touches in Buffalo in a good offense and couldn't do shit with it.
He was never the bell cow though. Devin Singletary was always there.
That's all the argument I need. He couldn't beat out Devin Singletary for a bell cow role. So, Devin
Singletary is a solid running back. He's not great. He's not great
exactly my point. You're making my point for me. I'm going to do this.
On the Chase Brown train. So we had Jonathan Brooks after me, Brian Thomas, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then who did you take there, Tyler?
I took Caleb Williams to get the stack with DJ Moore, and I did it the reverse way. I took DJ Moore in the 4th and getting Caleb Williams in the 8th, stacking those 2 players. Like, I really like that. Caleb gives really good rushing upside. He's he has the best weapons of any rookie quarterback. He's a better passer than, say, an Anthony Richardson. He's more mobile than, say, a Joe Burrow. And this offense is going to throw the football, and he's the key that stirs the whole drink. So give me that dude for sure.
I mean, a lot of high upside there for sure. I don't, and the stack, when you get the stack, it always gives you some extra value. So Jackson goes Ladd McConkey to be his 4th wide receiver. A lot of upside there. We like that pick. We'll see what the Chargers offense looks like, but they believed in him. We'll see.
I mean, definitely taking McConkey there after having Tyreek, Drake London, and Brandon Ayuk. Those are your 3 starters. 2 of them wide receiver, 1 at the flex. Having McConkey as your 4th.
That gives him time to grow.
There. Yeah. So, you're going to be starting the other guys, throwing them maybe a later pick or a running back in at the 2nd flex position. But It's a good pick there.
I like his team more than mine so far.
Wait, you got it.
Hollywood Brown, Manny.
Yeah, I'm not the
He's
biggest
on
fan of
auto.
your team.
Manny went on auto.
Oh, I didn't see that. Jordan Addison's the next pick, and we're about to finish up our 8th round. Who's Kyle going to take? Christian Watson, high upside, but he's on the IR already. Not really, but he will be soon.
If he ever put it together, that'd be one hell of a season. But it's just getting it all there in one season, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the eighth round, like you can take shots on players that don't work out, and you could be fine if you're a good fantasy football manager. Like
Agreed.
if you miss a pick in your draft, it's okay. If you make a good waiver wire claim or you make a good trade down the road, like you could be fine. It's just a matter of value and upside. But he has immense upside at that pick.
He does. I mean, and again, the Green Bay receiver room is just kind of scary. You know, we don't know who's going to come out. And Watson's chemistry seemed to be with Aaron Rodgers. We haven't really seen it with Jordan Love, but maybe that was because of the injury. I like pairing Keon Coleman there. I was going to say I didn't like Watson as a wide receiver 3, but as a 4, I like him. So we'll see. He'll get a solid 3 out of one of those 2 guys like him.
For sure. So
Jackson's taking Tua to get his stack with Tyreek Hill.
Nice.
I mean, that's pretty dangerous combo having that. 1 week, those 2 guys are probably just going to alone win your fantasy matchup. I mean, at least once this season, that's probably going to happen.
And I didn't notice that he has a super stack. He has Mostert too, so he has a lot of the Miami offense. Which, if you're going in on any offense, that's not a bad one to go in.
I mean that was 33 touchdowns last year between Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert. That will do. So I don't have a third running back here. I'm going to take a player that I haven't really been taking a lot this offseason. That's going to be Tajay Spears. I think that he has a very, very fantasy-friendly profile on him if he stays healthy. This team's going to be down a lot. I feel like they're going to be in shootouts. Tennessee's going to throw the ball more. But Brian Callahan, he came over from what's it called? The Bengals, who ran the ball a fair amount under him and that scheme, and then you get a lot of passes to the running back. And I'm not high on Tony Pollard, so give me Tajay Spears, who could legitimately score from anywhere on the field. He kind of has like he's definitely not as fast, but he does have like a Devon Achane type of like feel to him. It's a discount. It's like a knockoff version of it, but I feel like he has a similar profile.
I was grimacing because Louis took Brian Robinson. I was really hoping he was followed back to me. Anybody's been paying attention, and it's not a homer pick, maybe a little bit, but I love Brian Robinson this year. I like Tajay Spears. My biggest reason for him is he forced his way on the field with Derrick Henry. Tell me he's not going to force his way on the field with Tony Pollard in the backfield.
Yeah.
Especially in a full-point PPR. He showed his chops catching the ball. Yeah, I like him as a RB3 a lot.
I was between him and Robinson, to be honest, but I have more shares of Robinson, so I figured I'd kind of switch it up here and take Spears. So, yeah, love Brian Robinson. Dude's a dog.
So we had Jaylen Warren. So we got a little mini run on running backs here. And another thing, just to point out, Manny, and I think that was an auto pick, went Austin Eckler. I know he's a fellow Washington fan. I don't think if he makes that pick, he goes Austin Eckler over Brian Robinson. I've seen that order a lot, and it's just Brian Robinson is the RB1. Austin Eckler at this point in his career is going to be the change of pace. Fact.
I agree. I think you're. I really did not love that landing spot for him or for the team. Like, I think Brian Robinson has the ability to be a bell cow, and like, why wouldn't you just use that? You know. I love the Nick Chubb pick there. Honestly, though, with his roster, I don't like it now that I look, because he also has Jonathan Brooks, and then you have Zamir White and Ricard White are very like. If Ricard White doesn't play well and Bucky Irvin does play well, like there's a possibility that he loses a lot of his work. and Zamir White, I've never really been a truther on. Jonathan Brooks and Nick Chubb are both on the pup to start the season. That running back room looks pretty slight to me, honestly. He's going to have to hammer it in the late rounds here.
Well, I was going to go Singletary there, 100%.
Well, that makes me feel good. I was kind of forced to it with the run on running backs, and I'm scared of Chubb still. I didn't have him in my top 60 of running backs. I think dropping Deontay Foreman does show you they have confidence he'll be back, but I'm still at his age, that kind of injury, I'm nervous, and I agree with you, Tyler. Having two of those guys, we don't know when Brooks is going to be back. If the Panthers are terrible and Brooks doesn't get up to full speed until week 8, what motivation do they have to really give him a huge workload and risk him? And then Chubb is old and hurt. We'll see how it goes. He's a Cleveland fan. That feels like a little bit of a homer pick. Hopefully,
see, I would have rather taken Jerome Ford, if we're being honest.
Agreed.
Like,
I was between Singletary and Ford with my pick.
I don't love your Trey Benson pick, Mason.
I have James Conner, and that's mainly why I wanted it, just because James Conner is the one who scares me the most. It doesn't give me a solid fourth running back, though. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Only having 3 solid ones.
I see.
I wasn't super happy with the pick, but
you made it, so.
Yeah, I was going to go Chubb or Singletary, and then they both got taken 2 picks before me, and so that's why it was kind of a panic pick. I don't love it, don't hate it completely. It might have been a little early for Benson, but
I like the style though. I like the style though. Hopefully, what I'm thinking can come to fruition now.
We had just to finish that out. We had Trey Benson at the Mason. We just talked about it. Jamison Williams, Jerome Ford to end the round, and then I like those 2 picks, Jerome Ford and then Gus Edwards to stack. They are his RB2 and 3, but I think you'll get solid production out of one of those guys as your second starter at running back. Cortland Sutton went next, and then Mason's back on the clock.
I'm thinking right here going a little risky on wide receiver. I think it's early for them, but I know they won't make it back because Tyler would probably take them.
No, don't do it.
It sits well with my quarterback. Potential wide receiver 1, I'll take Shakir.
I don't like you. Really don't like you right now. It's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
It's a good value pick in the 10th. I mean, like we talked about last week, just, taking these later guys is in the 10th, it's all about upside. You're not looking for that guy who's going to be consistent. You're not looking at guaranteed anymore here. You're looking at who can fill in at those roles when one of my other wide receivers go down, and just having that stack is awesome. Because if Shakir is the wide receiver 1 there, it's going to be great for me.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic pick. I couldn't love that pick more. I'm hoping.
Go ahead.
No, go for it. I was gonna say I'm hoping in my mocks I've been getting them at the 1301 in my home league, so I'm just gonna hope that I can do that. So, great pick, Lee. Love that pick. If I'm being honest.
Weren't you just talking crap about?
I was, but I was between him and Chase Brown, and I've been trashing Chase Brown all off season. I didn't want to double up and this is a philosophical decision. Do you get 2 running backs from the same team, or do you try to go upside and have 2 guys that could be your starter? So I went Zeke over Chase Brown.
I like Zeke. Let's see. Is Louis going to do it? I feel like Louis is going to do it to me and take Chase Brown, and I'm going to be very upset. I was really hoping Blake Corum fell to me there because I have Kyron Williams, and having both of them just in case of the injury would have been fantastic. But I got cucked, so that wasn't cool. Didn't love that.
Lee, a little to touch on, like how you're saying, getting 2 people at the same backfield. I think it entirely depends on the situation. Like Zach Moss, Chase Brown. There's no definite lead back there. So if you have them both, you're going to be debating, I think, every week, who do I start? It's same with how
unless one gets hurt.
Yeah, unless one gets hurt. Same with the Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris situation. Having them both, which I do in one league, it's difficult deciding who do I start. But like I went James Conner and Trey Benson. Connor's going to be the workhorse as long as he's healthy. But taking a backup on a guy who's a workhorse could pay off because if Connor's down, Benson could step up and be a workhorse.
Hold up a second. I think Louis just got screwed by the clock. He was talking in the he was talking in the chat and it like auto picked him. Do we want to remove that pick? Because like he already like I feel like he was going to take Chase Brown there because he said, "Hey Lamb, watch this. It's payback time," and then took Brock Purdy for him. And like I don't. That's not what he was talking about.
We paused for you, Louis. Let us know.
Oh man, that's pretty beat. Yeah, he's gonna take Chase Brown, so he's give him Chase Brown. I don't like this. So that sucked.
Yeah, I knew you were going for him. Having Shakir and Chase Brown taken from you. Because I know those are two players you're pretty high up.
Yeah,
this season.
That one hurt. No, that one didn't feel very good at all. Right.
I'm looking at your roster. You definitely need a running back, but it's pretty. It's getting pretty sparse here after that Chase Brown being gone.
Let's do this.
And I think he has a chance of having some role. I just think he can also be a completely wasted pick. But I mean, in the 10th round, it's upside that you're looking for. So
yeah, we had a little bit of kerfuffle there, but we got it sorted out, much to Lamb's chagrin. But he did call it out, so a man of honor there, a man of honor.
I'm not gonna let he had his plan, and like I'm not gonna screw it. Like this is why we like to do this because things happen in real drafts that you're not really expecting, and you have to tilt. I don't love my pick, but like there's a world where it works out for me, so I guess that's okay.
Yeah. So we had Jalen Wright. I mean, I think he's a really, of the rookies that aren't. I mean, all the rookies have question marks, all the rookie running backs. But if he gets the opportunity, he's a guy he has size and speed. He could be lethal in that offense.
I mean, if Raheem Mostert gets hurt and it's A-Chain and Wright, like I'm feeling pretty good about this. Not that I'm like wishing injury on anybody. I have a lot of Raheem Mostert shares, and I hope he has a good season again. But yeah, if one of those backs gets hurt, which both of them has kind of shown that they're prone to, Jalen Wright could definitely have a big role.
Yeah. Agreed.
He also could not start all season and get like 50 touches.
Just be a guy that you cut in like a couple weeks.
Yeah,
but I mean, that's the 10th round. Like you're just looking for upside here. If you miss on a pick in this round, you're fine. It's not the end of the world.
The end of the world, yeah, for sure. Especially with a degenerate like us who are just always on the wire and always making moves. And like one of those moves we make is going to work out. Like, yeah, there's a lot of luck involved, but if you do the work and you put it in, like generally you'll be rewarded.
I mean, there's usually someone who just blows up after week one where everyone just goes crazy on them.
So real quick, just to recap, after DeAndre Hopkins, Manny, again, just perplexing the entire draft, takes TJ Hawkinson, who I love as a very late round flyer, but in the 10th round, your second tight end. I feel like he drafted Dallas Goedert, so it kind of forced him to reach to try to get that potential later. Curtis Samuel, Sammy took, or Wolfpacker. I love Curtis Samuel. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a threat this year. You just got to stay healthy. We had Kyle go Adonai Mitchell, and then one of my other favorite late round picks, Josh Palmer, could be wide receiver 1 for Justin Herbert. Sammy goes Zach Charbonnet, who maybe Kenneth Walker gets hurt. We didn't see a ton last year, but who knows? And now Manny back on the clock. He's going to do something crazy here. What's he going to do? He's going to do something crazy. He's crazy. Tyler Algier.
Hate that. Do you not like that pick?
And he takes a second quarterback.
Jackson gets his second quarterback because Tua does have some injury risk. He gets Brock Purdy. He's got a double stack now. He's got Tua and Tyreek Hill and Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk. I like it.
I mean, in the 11th round, I guess Romeo Dobbs in the 11th round can't be a bad pick. He's going to be a very solid wide receiver 3. And like with the upside of my team, I kind of like his floor value. So let's roll with Dobbs here.
I mean, it's really all the Packers receivers. There's no certainty whatsoever. No. It's just like, I mean, I don't see Dobbs finishing as wide receiver 1. There's not really a world I see that, but
I see him on the field all
open. Oh yeah, I mean, he could be a solid, wide receiver 2 for the team if Watson can't stay healthy. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just a weird situation where you don't really know what's going to happen.
I hate Dan's running backs, but man, the way that he started the draft with St. Brown, Harrison, Debo, and now getting Jaden Daniels, I really like the rest of his team, but I do not like his running backs. There's a world where it works out for him, but there's also one where like none of those dudes are startable.
I was definitely I didn't necessarily want to take a second quarterback at this point in the draft, though. Jaden Daniels was not getting past me.
What?
Yeah, that was honestly, it was either Caleb or Jaden Daniels. And to be like, honestly, seeing how this kind of fell, I probably could have waited a little bit longer for Williams or Daniel. But I don't know. With the way the board fell before that, felt like I had to get that position settled.
Yeah.
Lee, I was going to take Dobbins. You've sniped me twice in a row.
Nice. Glad to hear it. He's a guy, I feel like Dobbins is a guy you can cut pretty easily if he doesn't have a role, but who knows? I mean, they're going to run a lot if he's healthy. Drake Roman, Jim Harbaugh. I like him as a flyer here.
I'm going to go Rico Dowdle. I don't love it. It's just in the 11th round, a guy that has potential to completely win that starting role on Dallas.
I like Dowdle. I'd have taken Dowdle there over J.K. Dobbins if I didn't already have Zeke.
I like that, yeah. No, it was a good pick. We don't know how that Dallas backfield is going to work out, but we do know Dallas is going to put up points, and they're going to be fantasy significant people coming from that offense. Yeah, no, I love that pick. I think it's
we have a kicker. We have a kicker off the board.
Kicker alert. Kicker alert.
Kicker alert. Sound the siren. This I'm not familiar with the fellow on the end. What's his name?
He is actually he I don't know if you guys watch Fantasy Footballers, but we met through the Foot Clan, joined a couple leagues together, and like now we've been doing leagues. He's the Ravens in our Madden league as well.
Okay. So I like his draft up until that. I really like what he's doing with his team. And then he went and took Justin Tucker in the 12th round.
It really depends on how he fills those last other 2 spots. I don't see that as a draft breaker for him. I mean, like if you're looking at his roster, like his wide receiving core is pretty deadly. And Derrick Henry, like we talked about this last week, like there's a possibility that Derrick Henry has 20 rushing touchdowns this year. Like that's a real thing. Yeah. Gus Edwards, if Gus Edwards can have double-digit rushing touchdowns in this offense, I think Derrick Henry should be able to double that.
Maybe. I don't. Maybe.
It's not like a high chance, but there is a chance where this happens.
All right. Right here, I'm going to just go another upside pick. I'm going to go Jalen Polk.
Real quick, before I take the next pick, guys, Atlanta Radio, we appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you. Please check us out on YouTube. We're going to overflow and finish this draft out, so come check us out. Go Dogs, and we appreciate you, Atlanta.
Later.
So
Atlanta.
I took Polk, honestly, in the 11th or 12th round. He has potential to be the wide receiver 1 at some point on that team. There's no
He's the best receiver on that team, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I mean, he could.
Not even close.
I don't think that. I mean, the risk of it is New England not producing enough passing yards to split between a lot of uncertainty. I think they're going to be trying a lot of different things this year. But if Polk shows up early, he can pretty much emerge as a solid wide receiver one on that team for years. I don't think he's ever really going to put up wide receiver one numbers in fantasy, but
you want to know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Robert Woods. He reminds me of Robert Woods. Buffalo version Robert Woods, not like the Rams version that was going off, top 10 wide receiver type, but like very solid. He's probably going to be like a wide receiver 2 for fantasy, and he'll probably give you 9 to 12 points every week with the chance if he scores a touchdown to get around that 18-20 number, and really not much more than that.
So I panicked a little bit when the clock hit me. I went Tyler Lockett. I don't think it's a horrible value in the 12th round. As you guys, anybody that's listening know, I'm not really high on Tyler Lockett this year. However, I already had DK Metcalf. That was a mistake. Again, you can live with it in round 12, but I don't love it. In retrospect, I probably would have taken someone else if I'd remembered, but pressure got to me.
Go Bruins.
Wow. Brandon's been sniping me a lot with Brian Thomas, Blake Corum, then Rashid Shaheed. He took Malik Neighbors before me, and he took Isaiah Pacheco before me. So, like, his whole draft was basically just sniping my picks, which is awesome. I love watching that. So I'm kind of tilting here. Don't love that. The 28 seconds left on the clock. Yuck. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna take Isaiah Likely here. I think that if Mark Andrews gets hurt or like Jake Ferguson doesn't really pan out how I want him to, Isaiah Likely is a high. He has a lot of potential. Like that dude's an explosive athlete from the tight end position, and Lamar Jackson in that offense uses a lot of tight ends and heavy sets, so he's going to be on the field. I think. Not a bad tight end too on a team.
So yeah, I don't mind Likely at this point in the draft. Again, he super high upside, like you said. If Andrews is hurt, and he should be more involved regardless. After that,
he showed something last year for sure. Yeah, I think
absolutely. So after Likely, Jackson went Antonio Gibson, a guy who I think has more value than a lot of people give him credit for. You said it. Zeke Elliott caught a lot of passes last year. He was brought into New England for a reason. I do think Drake May could likely be a guy who's dropping it down. That offensive line is terrible. He's going to be running for his life. And if Ramondre Stevenson gets hurt, there's some serious value there. And then we had Justin Herbert go to Manny, maybe the best pick Manny's made all draft. Really solid backup for C.J. Stroud. Cole Kmet, what are you doing, Wolfpacker?
I hate that pick.
And Brock Bowers, what are you doing?
I'm a big Cole Kmet fan, but this offseason, at least with the ones that they've been running out, Gerald Everett's been seeing a lot of playing time with Kmet on the field. Especially with those 3 wide receivers on there as well, like that is just a lot of mouths to feed. And I think Kmet's going to be that forgotten kind of guy in this offense. Unfortunately, I think he's an elite. He's a high level talent.
If Tua gets injured, I put Tyreek Hill, and then Brock Purdy has to step up, and I put Washington too.
What's Wolfpacker gonna do here?
Yeah, you got to stack either way. So Jackson's game plan is if Tua gets hurt, he's got to stack with one of his 2 quarterbacks. And Brock Purdy, Mason's a huge 49er fan. He's got Brock Purdy's picture on his wall right now.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Just go with it, man.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
No, the guy that took Scary Terry was at the end of the draft. You want Scary Terry? He's putting in trade offers for Scary Terry after this draft, he says. You got a pick? Oh.
I misclicked. Yay.
You did not misclick. So Jackson takes Kamani Vidal. We had Kirk Cousins go to Sammy, Wolfpacker, who's just off his rocker. Josh Downs to Manny. Kamani Vidal, he's a rookie. We'll see what happens. Who knows what's going to happen with the Chargers backfield, but not a bad flyer at this point. And back to Lamb.
Yeah, I'm blaming you for the Kamani Vidal pick. I mean, I know that you just whispered that in his ear, and that bothers me a little bit. But I'm going to take – who am I going to take here? No, I'm not taking no kicker. I'm going to take Braylon Allen here. I think he's looked like a beast in the preseason. I have Breece Hall, who has injury concerns still. If Breece Hall does go down, I do think Braylon Allen's going to be an issue for people. And yeah, so I kind of like that fit and kind of getting a handcuff here late in the round. Love the Ben Sinnott pick, by the way.
I love that pick too, obviously, with the gear I have on. I love Braylon Allen there. He was my top running back in this class when we did this scouting. I was super high on him. I hate the landing position. Dude is a freak athlete, and he is young. So a lot of runway there. Obviously, this is redraft. But to me, Breece Hall, that's one handcuff, especially at this point in the draft, that I love. Oh, we got another kicker. Second kicker alert. After Ben Sinnott, the Senator goes to Louis. Louis having a great draft, I must say. I do like where Louis went. Brandon Aubrey, if you're a card collector, Mr. Camel Toe, you know what I mean, from the Optic Series this year. If not, just forget it. Brandon Cooks goes to Dan. You know what I'm talking about, Mason?
I don't know that one.
Okay. It's not a flattering picture on his Donruss Optic cards. We'll say that.
Did you guys thought I was going to be a kid or a grown-up?
What?
Jackson wants to know if you thought he was going to be a kid or a grown-up.
Well, I knew he was your son, so I generally figured he was going to be a kid.
I mean, I'm old, but I'm not that old, right?
Yeah, I didn't think you were that old.
He's inspired late by you. Look, that's my inspired by you. Oh, crap. I think that was me.
I'm going to take Ricky Pearsall just in case something happens with Brandon Ayuk at this point in the draft.
Yeah, then I'm going to go with my first tight end, take Dalton Schultz. At this point, I think,
that's your first tight end?
Yeah, that's a good pick. It's a good pick.
I think he's going to be consistent enough. I mean, I know there's so many targets there with the addition of Diggs now. But still, I think he'll get enough. And if not, it's the 13th round. If I got to drop him and just stream tight ends, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I just don't – I mean, I think last season was probably with all the injuries in the wide receiver room, I do think last season was probably his ceiling. And Diggs coming back, if those guys are healthy, specifically Nico and Tank, I just don't know how much of the pie is going to be left for him. So after Mason went, Dalton Schultz, the doctor, we had a third kicker. Good guy Jay takes Evan McPherson. Dontavian Wicks, that's a good pick there for our boy on the end, our Ravens owner in the Madden League. But then he takes a defense, the 49ers defense, who fell off some at the end of the year. Hard to predict defenses year to year. It could work out for them. And then
they're playing the Jets first game. I don't necessarily love that as like a matchup for like when I'm picking a defense in a draft, like I'm looking at their week one matchup. I don't care about how good a defense is. I'm looking at their week one matchup. Like I'll drop them the next week, Yeah. So like
you're simpatico.
The Cowboys, they're playing the Bucks. Like I'm sorry, they're playing Cleveland. That one's not a bad. I don't think that's a bad pick. We don't know what Deshaun Watson is yet, so
they lost a lot of pieces, and they still have Michael Parsons, obviously one of the best players in the game. But they lost their coach, Scott Washington. They lost the next coach, which is Joe Witt Jr., and they lost some depth talent. So I do expect Dallas, not just being a hater. I expect their defense to take a serious step back. But I agree, Cleveland
isn't Trayvon Diggs coming back though?
I would dance.
Possibly.
Trayvon Diggs back or DeRon Bland's hurt, isn't he? Didn't he just get hurt?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. So yeah, that you're like, all right. Well, we're getting one of our elite cornerbacks back. Oh, sick. Our other one's hurt now for 3 months. Like that. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Jackson's dancing because we got 100 viewers.
Yes, sir.
So I went with Troy Franklin for mine, though. I'm just gonna not draft a defense or a kicker. Not sure yet, and then probably just end up cutting Troy Franklin. But I like just taking him there instead. And if there's some good news that comes out in the next week or so, maybe drop Polk or someone else instead.
I was definitely considering that kind of strategy. I'm probably gonna take a kicker, but I might not take a defense. So
I went the same strategy, Mason, and Khalil Herbert. I ran out on clock again, but he'll probably be a drop ad before the season. But yeah, I mean, I do think Khalil Herbert will be a thing at some point this year because honestly, and this may be a little bit of a hot take, I think Khalil Herbert's a better running back than DeAndre Swift.
Whoa.
I think Roshan Johnson's the best running back on that team. So
I don't know that he's shown that yet. I think he does have that potential, but Khalil Herbert has I don't know offhand the number, but he's close to 5 yards of carry on his career. He's a solid running back. He just never has really gotten that chance, and maybe he doesn't have that potential. So we had Matt Stafford go after Khalil Herbert. So we got Dan with Jaden Daniels, Matt Stafford stack, waiting really late for quarterbacks. I do love that strategy. Give you a solid floor guy and a solid ceiling guy. Tyron Tracy, liked him a lot more before the injury. We'll see what happens. Then we had the Bucs defense. They play Washington week 1. That's a mistake, Louis. I love your team, but that's a mistake. Washington offense will be better.
They said Tyron Tracy had to be taken off in an air cast, and then a day later they said it was an ankle sprain.
Yeah,
so he's already back at practice. I think that's a great pick. They're like, I don't think Devin Singletary is handling that full workload, and I think Tyron Tracy could be a weapon out of the backfield receiving. So I really like his prospects. I'm going to take Bucky Irvin here. I kind of mentioned like Ricard White had a really good season volume wise. He wasn't the most efficient back out there, and I think Bucky Irvin is. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Kyron Williams type, who if he's healthy, he has good real feel for downhill running, one cut ability. He doesn't have elite speed, but he's got enough in the tank. I think he could be a better pure runner than White. So just on like the possibility that in some world he wins that job, if I get him with the 1408, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like Bucky Irvin there, and again, the lack of efficiency from Rachaad White. So after Bucky Irvin, Jackson did take his defense. He took the Jets. Again, I'm with you. I don't love week 1, but if I am taking a defense this early, for me personally, the Jets would be the number 1 defense I would want to get. They do get to play the Patriots twice this year, but it's a tough division otherwise. I don't know their whole schedule, but honestly, if I was going to ride the whole season with one defense, I think it would be the Jets.
And the top kicker.
After that, we had the Ravens, another solid defense. Hard division because you got to play the Bengals, but you do get the Browns and the Steelers for 4 games. Who knows what those offenses look like? Steelers defense went to Sammy. I don't know what he's doing. Seahawks are the defense I wanted. They get first 2 weeks, Broncos week 1, Patriots week 2, and then you can stream after that. I love the Seahawks as my first streaming defense. Jake Moody, Harrison Butker, he hates women.
Just kickers.
What?
Kickers. Jake Elliott. I don't know that we got to do a recap at this point, guys, but we really appreciate all you guys joining. We're going to finish up, and we'll do a brief recap on all of our teams that were here. Jackson's dancing. He loves fantasy football. He loves football. He's got the moves like Jagger.
Yes, sir.
I'm really excited about this team, honestly. I kind of like the way mine kind of fell. So I have Caleb, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Jake Ferguson, George Pickens, Xavier Worthy. That's my starting lineup. Then my bench is Tajay Spears, Jalen Wright, Romeo Dobbs, Isaiah Likely, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irvin. Like, I really like the floor upside kind of combination of that draft. Like, I feel like there's a lot of players who can give me decent weeks every week, and then there's players who can win me weeks at any point in time as well.
I'm lost because I was taking the Seahawks. I don't know what defense I'm taking here.
I don't have a defense. Didn't take one. I'll pick one up on the waiver wire and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes to defense, it's
All right, I picked mine. I found it. We've got the Vikings playing the Giants week 1. We'll do that.
I'm not a fan of their pass rush this year, for real.
I mean, Daniel Jones is going to throw at least 2 interceptions. So
Daniel Jones? Oh yeah.
I don't. They're getting dropped probably after week 1. But
Malik Neighbors might throw up 102 on that secondary too.
He's going to have to throw it to himself.
all right. I'm gonna go with the defense that I think I'd keep for a lot of the season. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. They don't really have too much that scares me. I mean, they got 2 games against Buffalo, one against Arizona that's kind of scary. Green Bay, Houston, the Niners. No other games necessarily scare me a ton. It's only 4 or 5. Miami's got an underrated defense. It's defense as well. If I drop them, I drop them. So
I feel that.
I think they lost some pieces. Christian Wilkins losing is him going to the Raiders is going to be a big hit on that defense.
all right, well, that was the draft.
All right, guys. So we have finished up again. Thank you guys for joining us. We're bringing in a new fantasy football player. That's what it's all about, guys. We continue to grow the game. I've aged myself, but it is insane from when I first started fantasy in the late 90s to what it is now, and we must continue to grow the game, keeping young players involved. Get anybody you can involved in it. Let's do a quick recap. Let's start. We'll start with Jackson. So he was first on the list. So we had quarterback. He went Tua Tagovailoa and Brock Purdy. At running back, he went with Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, Raheem Mostert, Antonio Gibson, and Kamani Vidal. I don't think I'm missing one there. At wide receiver, definitely the strength of his team, Tyreek Hill, Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Lad McConkey, DeAndre Hopkins. And I think – sorry. That's all the receivers. He's got Mark Andrews at tight end, and he did pick up defense in the New York Jets and kicker Young Ho Koo. Go ahead. You go ahead next there, Tyler. I think you're next we'll go just the order we pick.
Cool. I mean, I kind of talked about it for a minute there, but I have let's see here. Caleb Williams is my quarterback. Breece Hall, Kyron Williams are my 2 starting running backs. And it's Mike Evans, DJ Moore are my 2 starting wide receivers. I got Jake Ferguson as my tight end. George Pickens and Xavier Worthy are my flex. Then on my bench, I have Tajay Spears, Jalen Wright, Romeo Dobbs, Isaiah Likely, Braylon Allen, and Bucky Irvin. I really like. I said a few minutes ago. I really like the mix of high floor and then high ceiling that my players have. Like I think that's kind of the recipe for success in fantasy. Is make sure you stack your team with floor players, but also players that can win you weeks. So I think I did a good job doing that.
Yeah, he was there. Absolutely. Yeah, I like your team as much as it hates me to say it.
Yeah, the only thing that does scare me a little about your team, Tyler, is if Tajay, I do believe in him, but if he doesn't necessarily work out, you are going to be a little scarce there behind Breece Hall and Kyron.
If one of the top 2 gets hurt, like let's say Breece gets hurt, though, I do think that Braylon Allen steps in for that. So like I do have a little bit of insurance there. I do agree though. I am a little bit light on like my RB depth. There's a lot of people there, but not a lot of proven talent, I would say.
Yeah. The concern would be Kyron if he does get hurt or if he loses share. That's where we're really scrambling. But hopefully, I like Tajay as a fill-in if nothing else. So I'll go with mine next. Or do we want to do Dan's? Do we want to cover Dan's team? Is he on the show today? Let's do Dan's.
You
quickly go over it. So
you want to do it next?
Yeah, give me one sec. So Dan's Dan,
Mason, real quick. Sorry to interrupt. Do you need a force win in CFB League?
I need to look at that in a sec.
Sorry, I'm trying to
Yeah,
get
yeah. No, you're good. I forgot. So Dan for his quarterback position has Jaden Daniels, and then he drafted Matthew Stafford. Running back, he's got Rashad White, Zamir White, Jonathan Brooks, Nick Chubb, Chuba Hubbard, Ty Chandler. It's okay there. I mean, his starters, his running back situation is a little. There's a lot of unknown to it, especially with Chubb and Brooks not necessarily playing early on. At the wide receiver position, which is probably his strongest, is he's got Amon Ra, Marvin Harrison, Debo, Mari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, and at the tight end position, he has Evan Ingram and Pat Freiermuth, which he decided to not draft a kicker, defense, drop someone at some point, which he won't need to. It's kind of a smart thing that he did because he could just put Jonathan Brooks and Nick Chubb on the IR. So that is a pretty smart move by him.
generally a pretty sharp guy, that Dan Baker.
Yeah.
I love doing that with two guys. Even doing it with two, but just two running backs. I do like that he did get Chuba as kind of insurance as that RB3 until Jonathan Brooks gets back.
I actually like Ty Chandler too.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Ty Chandler's a sneaky little one. I think he could take away a little time from Aaron Jones. I mean, it's going to be Aaron Jones mostly, but I think he can take a little bit away, and Aaron Jones is not, the healthiest player we've ever seen.
Yeah,
for sure.
The health concern especially. But, yeah, I think he has some standalone value even if Aaron Jones is healthy. So I'll go next. So I did quarterback. I went Jalen Hurts. Probably the strength of my team as well. We got A.J. Brown, Puka Nacua, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett, and Ricky Pearsall at wide receiver. Still, even with the double up on the Seahawks, I do really like my wide receiver room. Obviously, the weakness of the team, and it's really going to be make or break for me, is the running back room. Did not take a running back until round 6. And then I had a couple of guys in my sights that went right in front. So I ended up with Aaron Jones as my RB1, Zach Moss, RB2. We got Devin Singletary, Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, and then Khalil Herbert down at the bottom. I do like my bench guys, especially those top two, and Devin Singletary and Zeke, as guys I can plug and play. They shouldn't lose me a week. Probably won't win me many, but as long as they can keep me in it. George Kittle at tight end. I did draft the Vikings defense just for that week 1 matchup against the Giants, and we will be picking up a kicker, probably dropping Khalil Herbert in the next week. But I'm okay with the team. Honestly, drafting from spot 9, I don't love it. I like Jackson's team better, and I probably like Lamb's team better. I'll never say I like Mason's team better, though.
Talk about your team, Mason. Prove them wrong.
All right, so my default strength on my team is, after taking Barkley and Gibbs at the 1 and 2, definitely 2 solid starting running backs. Later on, I went Connor, which, when he's playing, when he's healthy, he's always been efficient. But the injuries are a serious concern, so I went Trey Benson in the 9th round, locked down that backfield. More than likely, Benson would take a workhorse role if Connor did go down. And I also got Dowdle later, just because, we got a lot of uncertainty going in the Cowboys backfield. In the 11th round, it's a good pickup for the potential of having a guy who could be the lead guy there. Quarterback, I just got one, went Josh Allen. I didn't draft another one because as long as Josh Allen's healthy, he's going to start, except the 1 bye week. I'll just pick someone up off waivers. Wide receiver room, I got Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson. Those are 2 guys who I think will give me a nice floor, very safer picks. And then I got T. Higgins and Jaden Reed, who Jaden Reed could definitely be the wide receiver 1 for Green Bay. T. Higgins has a lot of upside. We've seen what he's done in the past when he's played full seasons. With a healthy Burrow, I think he can get back to that. Went Shakir later, a lot of upside. Potential to be Josh Allen's wide receiver 1. Maybe, maybe not. It's a good stack either way. Then I went Jalen Polk in the 12th as an upside pick to potentially be New England's wide receiver 1 at some point. Then went Troy Franklin in the 14th, who I'll probably drop for a kicker. just if something big breaks in news. And my tight end's Dalton Schultz. In the 13th round, I'm happy with that. I'm probably streaming tight ends most of the season unless Schultz really erupts. And then my last pick, I went the Dolphins defense, which I had just kind of talked about, but defense is defense. If I drop them before week 1, it's no big deal.
Yeah, I like you. I mean, your team's not bad. It's as nice as I'll get. I do think, the tight end streaming this year specifically is a little scary to me just because there are, that 8 or 9 guys who are clear, solid options. So that's going to be the struggle this year for you. I think at wide receiver, I might like your wide receiver 3 just as much as your top 2. When you play teams with high-end wide receivers, that's definitely going to be a deficit. But hopefully your top 2 running backs would make up for it. And it's all about roster construction. So obviously you take 2 running backs, 1, 2. That's kind of going to be you're trying to make up that room, the rest of the draft.
Word. I think we're wrapped up, huh?
Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Like I said, I really appreciate everyone. Appreciate you guys taking part. Jackson, what do you think? A man of many words. It was fun. Look forward to managing this team. Like I said, we're going to be talking about it and our dynasty team week in and week out. Guys, we are in the final days before football. We've got 8 days before we get real NFL football. Please join us next week. We'll finish up our rankings, and we'll get you guys ready for the NFL season.
One more Sunday, baby.